Pinkie groaned. Her head hurt like Tartarus, and vomit crept into her throat. The world was black. She felt as though her head would explode if she opened her eyes. The world still felt like it was spinning, begging her to remember something. Something important. Was she knocked unconscious? Gritting her teeth, the mare allowed one of her eyes to creak open. When her headache and nausea didn't intensify, she opened both of them. While her vision adjusted to the dark, purple-tinted surroundings, she became vaguely aware that she was moving. Then it all came back to her. Rainbow Dash, the capital, Inky. It was blurry after that. She needed to get the foals to escape, but then the world turned black. Pinkie shrieked, but a feathery wing covered her mouth. "Shh! You'll attract rotters!" Fluttershy whispered. Rarity grunted somewhere as she slept. "I think she was right to be scared with what we did to her," she muttered, her voice bittered. Twilight, her horn providing a slight glow, rubbed her neck under her mane, guilty eyes hiding something. "I regret it. We shouldn't have done it," she whimpered. "We escaped. Where are the foals?" Pinkie questioned. She tried to get to her hooves, though she found herself unable to do so. No pony matched her eyes. There were no words to her thoughts, but the confusion began to sink in. No sign of the foals. Knocked out. Guilt. Pinkie grit her teeth. Panic and anger began to settle in where her questionability was. "Where are the foals?" she asked again. Twilight looked at her, her eyes shimmering with tears, and shook her head. Forgetting her headache, Pinkie bolted to Twilight and threw her hooves to the sides of her face. "You left them behind?" Twilight tried getting up, only to be thrown back down by Pinkie. The pink mare retracted her hoof, ready to punch again, only to find it torn back by Fluttershy. The Pegasus grabbed her other hoof, struggling to keep her from the Alicorn. "Pinkie, calm down," she ordered, tightening her grip on the mare that she'd captured. Rarity stood, scowling at Twilight, and set her hoof on Pinkie's shoulder. "Pinkie, darling, in your position, I'd be right where you are, trying to kick that mare's skinny little flank. But you have to listen. Not here. Not now." Pinkie went limp, sweat mingling with the tears dribbling from her muzzle. She looked to Rarity, eyes sunken and quivering. Her heart sped up, and she could feel it in the tips of her hooves and the pounding in her head. Black spots flashed before her eyes. Fluttershy's eyes went wide. "Somebody catch her! She's gonna faint!" Blackness. Sugar Cube Corner. "Well, try this one on for size." Pinkie hid her face, before unveiling a new one to her foals. One with eyes crossed, puffed out cheeks, and a tongue hanging from her muzzle. Not even a smile from her foals, who stared blankly at her. She groaned. "What is with you, foals?" Pinkie turned to Mr. Cake. "What is with these foals?" "They just woke up, Pinkie. I'm sure they won't be in a happy mood right after I got up." She brushed it off. They're probably just worried about their mother. You think she's feeling better?" "Pinkie, she got sick a few hours ago. I doubt she's better." "Don't you think it's a good idea to at least check on her?" The stallion stood up from a tray of cupcakes. "Probably." He set off towards the staircase. "All right, my little ponies. Aunt Pinkie will be back in a few moments." Pinkie galloped after him. Mr. Cake knocked on the guest room door. "Honey Bun, you all right?" Pinkie zoomed behind him. "I made a special tray of mini marzipan, something madness." The stallion flashed off a look at her. "How did you make those so fast?" I'm a mare of many talents, my friend." Oddly enough, no pony answered the door. Mr. Cake creaked the door open. "Sweetie?" Miss Cake was sitting straight up in the bed, staring blankly at the ponies with white, fleckled, dead eyes. Her husband approached her. "Sweet... Ah!" Miss Cake lurched forward, biting him with a sudden savagery that made Pinkie retch in disgust. The stallion pulled away, his wrist bleeding profusely, swearing under his breath. The mare shook her head and groaned. You all right, dear? I had a dream that... She paused, shocked at his bite. Did she remember that it was her who bit him? Pinkie galloped over to a phone beside the bed, quick to dial for emergency services for the couple. In waiting for the emergency carriage to arrive, Mr. Cake, his bite still bleeding, turned to Pinkie. I'm really sorry, Pinkie, but can you please make sure the foals are safe while we're gone? She smiled ear to ear, before setting her hoof upon her open eye. I Pinkie promise. How much was that promise worth now? Pinkie? Mr. Cake said. Yes? Pinkie! His voice twinged with like Twilight's. Pinkie! The mare's voice grew louder. Pinkie! Pinkie Pie! Pinkie snapped back to the realm of the awake and alive. Cushioning her head was Fluttershy's wing. Oh, thanks Celestia, you're okay, Twilight called. Her snout was bleeding, and her smile missed a tooth. Pinkie regretted her blow to her. With honesty, you shouldn't really worry that much. She wasn't even out 2 minutes, and that barely classified as passing out, Rarity pointed out. Pinkie was silent and angry. No, not angry. That was far too much of an understatement. My foals. Her voice rose again, rage filling her body. You're all bitches, you know that? I'd lost everything. Every damn thing. My parents, the cakes, my sister, even half my friends. Everything. The only thing I had left, hell, the only reason I didn't end it all, was because of those 2 foals. And now? She laughed nervously, running her hoof through her mane. They could be dead, or alone with Rainbow Dash. And frankly, I don't know which is worse. Twilight rubbed her neck again, and Pinkie swore she saw that it was raw. How long? How long was I out the first time? An hour, Twilight said, with much reluctance. Pinkie rummaged through her bag of supplies, pulling out a hatchet, a saddlebag, and several bottles of water. Then, there might still be time. Time? Time for what? Rarity tilted her head. Pinkie secured the saddlebag, grabbing a bottle of kerosene and a lantern. I think you know. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You're not actually considering going back, are you? Twilight was clearly perturbed. Pinkie pulled a pocket knife from the bag, testing its sharpness by gently tapping it against her hoof. That's funny, because I was thinking of doing just that. She trudged over to the end of the wagon, and then stopped. Twilight's aura faded, replaced with Rarity's. The unicorn walked over to Pinkie. Do you remember when you became suspicious to why we'd think that you wouldn't come? Twilight wouldn't have taken the foals with us. That was the reason. She didn't want to give us away, or swallow too many resources. You don't think I found that out? I don't believe so, darling. Pinkie turned, her interest caught. Why tell me? I want you to trust me. I spent hours arguing with Twilight about the arrangement. Going to take the foals back. Rarity pulled her revolver from the ground. Is something I can't let my closest friend do alone. It was touching, surprisingly so. Fluttershy bit her lip. I guess I have to go too. Rainbow Dash isn't the mare who would stand up to bullies anymore. She's just a piece of shit that would kill them with a smile. Pinkie paused, staring at Twilight. You're the reason my foals are with this monster. You can redeem yourself, but this is your only chance. Twilight, you're the only princess in Equestria left. The only one who can keep our stars effectively lighting the night. Twilight looked guilty, dead, almost. But in my eyes, you're a scared little filly. You can change that, right now. Or, I'll leave you alone. I'll make sure You never see me again." Twilight stared at Pinkie. "Well?" "You... Pinkie Pie. You stood by me in a lot of situations other mares wouldn't have done. Now, you need me. I'm sorry for what I did. I checked so many variables. All the twins did was look like a liability. If we boil the merciful decisions down to logic, we're no better than Rainbow Dash." Twilight snickered, giving Pinkie Pie that awkward wing hug that was always too formal for a friend to give a friend. Pinkie didn't get it. She was being serious, but she accepted the hug. "You took the words right out of my mouth. I'm with you, Pinkie." Hatchet and hoof, Pinkie crawled out of the covered wagon, and into the bone-gnawing cold. Winter was here, even without unicorns to bring it. It was half an hour, maybe a little longer. The mares galloped, even though their lungs begged them to stop, even though their hearts thumped wildly. They galloped because Pinkie wouldn't go any slower. A Pinkie promise was so much, she'd keep it, no matter the cost. It was so long before they could hear gunfire, the shrieks of ponies being eaten. It was longer before they saw the horde of trotters. Rarity gasped and almost fainted. Before she could, however, Pinkie grabbed her hoof, tugging her attention towards the abandoned house. "Stick to the rooftops," she whispered. The mares crept over to the door of the cottage, but it was locked. They were too close to the trotters to try another route, so Pinkie turned to Twilight and Fluttershy. "Fly us up," she mouthed silently. Fluttershy grabbed Rarity, and Twilight with Pinkie. Fluttershy and Rarity got to the top with little issue, but Twilight was slow, even in her takeoff. "You all right?" she asked, as she was out of their trotter's earshot. "Yeah, fine. I'm just tired." She breathed hard, sweating more than was natural for some pony who wasn't slightly fatigued. Pinkie gave her a questioning stare. "Twilight, the last mare that said that to me turned out to be pregnant." "Are you insinuating that I'm hiding a pregnancy?" she asked, offended. "No, but I am saying that you're hiding something." The Alicorn sighed. "I'll tell you later, if we can pull this off, okay?" "All right." With some effort, Twilight manned up, pulling Pinkie to the rooftop where their friends waited. Just in time, it seemed, as the herd was beginning to spread out into the streets. Rarity glanced nervously at the many trotters. They haven't learned how to climb yet, right?" "I don't think so," Fluttershy reassured her. Pinkie stared at the trotters, chills flying down her spine. "My foals are out there, in that mess." The princess comforted her. "Why did I leave them behind? We'll get them back, Pinkie. I promise." Girls, I'm not sure we can make that leap." Rarity bit her muzzle. It was true. The scale between where they were and the next rooftop was larger than Pinkie had expected. "Me and Twilight could fly you both over," Fluttershy offered. "With whatever's wrong with Twilight, that would leave you as our only flyer. It would be too time-consuming," the pink mare said. "We can still scale it. We just have to get a running start." Pinkie took a few steps backwards, then bolted full speed towards the edge, barely landing on the other side. Rarity followed, and the two winged mares flew over. The next homes were at a comfortable distance, and the mares easily made their way to the capital. That was, until Rarity fell. The roof of an older home was weakened by Pinkie when she jumped onto it. It cracked beneath her. "Be careful. I don't think this one's too terribly stable," she warned the unicorn. Cautious not to put too much weight onto the roof, the pink mare crept over the edge of the roof, allowing Rarity some room for error. The white mare gathered herself, and hopped over the small gap, with more force than she intended. As she landed on the roof, it collapsed beneath her. Rarity shrieked as she fell, pinned by the rubble and frozen in shock. The dust settled. Rarity groaned in pain. My leg! Oh, Celestia, my leg! I think it's broken! The Earth Pony turned to the Pegasus. We have to help her, Fluttershy. She was staring, mortified, into the gaping hole of the roof. Pinkie squinted, and in the darkness there were Trotters. And who just made a bunch of noise? Rarity looked desperately at her friends, but right then, in the corner of her eye, she saw the undead mass of ponies. They were countless, over a dozen poor souls who likely died hiding out up there. The unicorn was unable to bear the stress she felt. She shrieked louder than gunfire. With little thought, Twilight hopped down, with nothing but her little pistol to protect her. Keep yourself quiet. I got this, she told her calmly. The princess levitated the rubble off of Rarity, before jettisoning it all to the heads of a few Trotters. Rarity limped at an incredibly slow pace, screaming whenever she sped up. The undead began pooling around the house, and with some effort, the door crashed down, allowing them access to the living flesh within. At last, the unicorn was close enough for Pinkie and Fluttershy to help her up. Pinkie encircled her front hooves and Fluttershy's abdomen, giving her room to bend over and stretch her wings down for Rarity to grab. Trotters were close. Twilight packed a magazine into her pistol and opened fire. Hurry up! She yelled, panicked. Rarity gripped the Pegasus's wing tightly, and the two rooftop mares struggled to pull her up. At last she made it to the rooftop, and Fluttershy began to tend to her mangled leg. Pinkie bent over, watching Twilight kill Trotter after Trotter, but there were too many for her. What was she still doing? Twilight, get up! She called, but Twilight ignored her. Twilight! She screamed again. Sparkle, up here now! Fluttershy screamed from where Rarity was. The mare closed her eyes, huffing. No. It was soft, but forceful. Pinkie was taken aback. Shaking her head, she reached out her hoof. There are dozens of those things down there. You'll die if you don't get back up. The mares took turns screaming at her to get up. Twilight Sparkle, I don't know what you're thinking, but we don't need Equestria's last princess. Our closest friend, dead, Rarity called. The alicorn popped another magazine into the pistol, but the dead ponies were closing in. They wouldn't listen. She knew she wouldn't last long, and that was what she wanted of this situation. They needed to know. She turned to Pinkie. I'm bit. What? I'm bit! She screamed, hot tears in her eyes. Pinkie froze. Back at the capital, when we were escaping, I was careless. A Trotter snuck up behind me. Twilight brushed her mane back, revealing a gnarly bite, still bleeding a bit. I wanted to tell you, but I didn't know how long I had. I hoped, prayed, that it would be long enough to get your foals back. When fatigue settled in, I knew I didn't have long. Now go. These foals need you. Go rescue them. A Trotter got too close. Twilight dropped her gun, proceeding to wrestle herself away from it. Rarity's wound was spliced and bandaged, though she needed to lean against Fluttershy. We're done. We need to go, Pinkie. Fluttershy called. Twilight, we'll figure something out. We can find a cure. Just go! The Trotter's weight pinned Twilight to the floor, biting her leg. She screamed, grabbed her pistol, and shot it. Getting to her hooves, she stared at Pinkie, eyes begging them to leave her behind. Pinkie felt numb, leaving the job of tearing the mare away from her perch easy for Fluttershy and Rarity to perform.